Katherine Bennell-Pegg, Australian Astronaut with the Australian Space Agency. Thanks for joining us at the Indo-Pacific Robotics, Autonomy, AI and Cyber Conference. You gave the opening plenary session today, but I think what we wanted to do is also capture your takeaways from IAC. It's been an incredible fortnight of activities across the country, from Sydney to Perth. Welcome to Western Australia. How are you feeling at the moment? It's hard to where to start.
Well, it's great to be here, Chris. I'm seeing the world through a haze of caffeine, but absolutely the energy is high. This morning was amazing. I was learning so much from all the speakers across robotics, autonomy, AI and cyber, and yeah, I'm just so pumped coming out of the IAC and IPRAC for the next steps for Australia in space.
Well, it's pretty much on the subject of IPRAC, it was pretty much covered at IAC, but on a massive scale. Some key takeaways from you, but also from the agency. We would have loved to have Enrico, but you and him in particular, but the whole team did an amazing job, but very, very busy. Yeah, what are some of the key takeaways for you?
Well, I'm just so proud to be part of the Australian Space Agency team. Everyone absolutely gave it their all, and what a result together with the other organisers of the event. You know, we had thousands of delegates from around the world descending on Sydney, deciding the future of space exploration. We had the two major announcements from the Australian government with the Space Framework Agreement and the mandate to negotiate with ESA, plus a whole load of industry announcements. On top of that, there were some incredible meetings of minds. I got to learn a lot from international astronauts. It also spent a lot of effort working to inspire Australian kids throughout the week, but especially on Friday. On Friday, the public day, my goodness, what a day.
It was
there
incredible.
Must have been, I reckon, something like 20,000 people there, just kids everywhere in astronaut outfits and dressed up with rockets. And, you know, you just see the lights go on in their eyes. And I think that, 20 years from now, there's going to be a generation of young people in Sydney that got their first excitement for space there, and it's great to have been a part of it.
Well, you mentioned the take-up of maths is the lowest here in Australia at the moment, and my thought when you said that was the IAC could be a sort of benchmark point in time to see that change. We've spoken to the UAE Space Agency and also the Minister from New Zealand, the Minister for Space. Both of those small countries have seen massive uptakes in STEM, so let's hope that, and it was a public holiday, beg your pardon, it was school holidays at the time for IAC, so it was well timed. But yeah, just on that scale, I think it is a benchmark, and also the scale of the Australian stand and the states around the Australian stand and the pavilion.
Yeah, it was actually really incredible to speak to some of the other astronauts that have been the first in a while from their countries, and to see how space and human spaceflight within that have really elevated STEM workforce in their countries as well as other topics. And we can learn from our international partners just like they learn from us. The stand, wow, I just got so much energy walking around the Australian stands and those of our states and territories. It just was almost emotional to see how much capability there is, how far we've come since the last IAC and then the establishment of the Australian Space Agency off the back of that. We have so much that we're offering internationally. What I heard from international partners was how excited they are about what Australia is bringing to the table, and how they also see that there's so much more opportunity to engage with Australia and for Australia to grow into the future. It's really just the beginning of the next step for Australia in space.
Beautiful. Look, we were overwhelmed with a number of announcements and releases. The re-signing of the UK Space Bridge, I think the VADA announcement with Southern Launch was a big one with 20 landings, and then even on our own national partners as well with the likes of LabConnect 60. Just so many partnerships and announcements being made. We just had to basically get it out onto the website and just hope that people were reading it. It was quite overwhelming. But Katherine Bennell-Pegg, you've come over, there was a new facility open here in New Norcia in Western Australia with the European Space Agency. You were at that as well, and thank you so much for joining us this morning for the opening plenary of IPRAC. You've done an amazing job, just you and the whole team and all of your partners as well, so thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, the opening of New Norcia, the inauguration of NN03 was absolutely phenomenal. It shows what you can achieve in partnership internationally, and that dish is going to stand for 50 years. You know, what are we going to see in space in 50 years? People back on the moon, maybe onto Mars, maybe evidence of life elsewhere in the solar system, and that's all going to pipe through that dish, in rural WA, so it's exciting.
There was 3 apprenticeships from the electrical contractor alone, so in terms of the younger people working on that who will remember that for the rest of their career, and sets them in good stead, doesn't it? So I think, as
Yeah,
you
I think
say,
so.
I think we both appreciate, and anyone who has been involved with these events, the scale of the Australian space industry, but also here what we're seeing in Western Australia with robotics and AI and cyber and the cross-sector technologies. It's really very much encouraging.
Absolutely. Like I spoke about in my talk, space is just a place, and it just touches on every single industry. Society relies on space. Our industries, especially our remote industries, rely on space far more than people know. So I hope that the IAC and our presence here has helped to get the word out so that we can reduce the vulnerability of the lack of knowledge, and we can also help space and our adjacent industries see the opportunities that there are that can occur when we work together.
Your takeaway acronym was RIDGE. I'll let the audience find out more on that. But Katherine Bennell-Pegg, the Australian Astronaut with the Australian Space Agency, thanks once again for joining us on Australian Space TV.
Thanks for having me, Chris.